In November 2024, a strange website came to light. It was an index navigation-style repository, where its owner kept their personal media, including photos and videos. Except, the videos on this one were... Well, maybe it's better that I show you. What's really going on with Horselaugh.com? Just a disclaimer before I jump in, this video is for entertainment purposes only. Do not contact or harass anyone involved. Upon visiting Horselaugh.com, you see a mostly white page with navigation options. The first folder, 1417BR Orbs, contains the videos. Every video was a minute of camera footage of a sleeping woman. The files were labeled 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 43, and 49, which corresponded with the minutes of an hour, specifically 2300 or 11 p.m. on either March 2nd or February 3rd, 2023. Looking at the date formatting on the rest of the site, the year always comes first, followed by the month, and then the day. So if that checks out, this would have been taken on the night of Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. But why were only select clips posted to the site instead of the full hour? Let's look at the name of the folder. Orbs. Throughout each of the 8 posted clips, you can see faint orbs passing in front of the camera. Small orbs like these are often equated with paranormal activity, referred to as ghost orbs, but they could just as easily be attributed to dust, pollen, or insects passing in front of the camera. I'm an open-minded skeptic, so dust and pollen it is, for now. So let's keep digging. If I had to take a guess on the rest of the folder's name, 1417 may be referring to a unit, like an apartment, and BR is a very common abbreviation for bedroom. And I mean there is a bed in the room, hence bedroom. Though I can't help but notice that it's a very bare-bones bedroom. It looks tiny, especially if you assume that the camera's mounted on the wall opposite the one we see, and there's just a bed, not even a nightstand. But maybe this bedroom isn't in an apartment at all. Maybe it's in a sleep lab or at a cabin or a camp. A dormitory? Not like any I've lived in before. Toward the end of clip 34, we can hear a man's voice, but I can't quite make out what he's saying. The woman in the video is clearly awake, and I wonder if the man knows because he doesn't make any effort to act quietly. He leaves the door wide open at the beginning of clip 30, and we also hear the sounds of something on TV in clip 35. The videos were filmed in March 2023, but they weren't uploaded until December 2023. With no clear conclusion to be drawn from the clips alone, I went back to the main page and checked out the next item, 2007 Vacation. It chronicles a family vacation taken by the writer, their partner, Dan, and their kids, one of which was a daughter. Her age wasn't mentioned, but during their trip in 2007, she participated in some junior ranger activities with the U.S. National Park Service. The minimum age to become a junior ranger is 7 years old, So, unless I'm mistaken, the latest she could have been born was 2000. So could this be the same daughter in these videos, who would be at least 23 years old by the time they were filmed? Next up is ASD Index, which has details about the connection between gastrointestinal disorders and autism. The folder named CGI Bin was a dead end, and Vacation Pics has exactly one picture that seems to be from the same trip as 2007 Vacation, but it was a missing image icon. However, the image was titled Johnson Ranch from I-40 and was described as their first shot of the Painted Desert. The writer of 2007 Vacation described it as their midway stop in Texas and that it had a picnic area. So far, with this website, we have a whole bunch of clues that are unrelated at first glance. So what can we gather with just the information we have on the site? It belongs to the writer of 2007 Vacation, presumably the wife of the man named Dan and mother of the woman in the video. While researching this site, I found another Reddit post where people were discussing this website. It was on r/Internet Mysteries. As a side note, credit to users Drunk Priesthood and 1337AF, because they were first on the scene and did quite a bit of digging on their own before I ever caught wind of this. A lot of the Reddit users seemed to think that the person in this video was a young girl, and they used that as an argument against why that person couldn't be the daughter of the writer of 2007 Vacation, because she would be too old. I don't quite see it. Here's why. This looks to be a twin bed. These are the outlines of her feet right near the end of the bed. Standard twin beds are 75 inches long, while extra large twin beds are 80 inches long. She's almost as tall as the bed is long. Twin beds are always about 38 inches wide, so if these floor tiles are 1 by 1, then that checks out because the bed would be about 3 feet wide. My point is, isn't she a little too tall to be a, quote, young girl? Okay, so we have video footage monitoring a sleeping woman, a journal, photos of a family vacation, and studies that relate to autism. Could it be the parents monitoring their daughter, who presumably had autism? But why only the select clips and the whole orbs thing then? Were they trying to prove that there was paranormal activity? Let's take a look behind the scenes so that some of the stuff I mentioned before might tie closer together. I took a look first with the Wayback Machine and then with Whois.com. Once again, my thanks to the people over at r/Internet Mysteries for this bit of due diligence. A different version of the site existed in 2013, which consisted of 4 names to email: Alan, Audrey, Tammy, and Dan. This gives a name to the writer of 2007 Vacation, Tammy. In January 2014, the site changed again to have an orange background and plain text. Quote, "Hi Tammy, remember, I love you more than you will ever know. Dan." With this evidence, I firmly believe that Tammy was the wife of Dan and mother of Alan and Audrey, who were the 2 children. In 2016, the site changed yet again to be only the contents of ASD Index. In May 2017, the page changed to show that the domain was for sale, before going back to showing ASD Index in December 2021. By November 2024, it appeared as it was when I saw it while making this video. Given the extensive history of this website, dating back to 2004 when it just had 2 Civil War photos, I doubt this is an ARG or alternate reality game. It more likely just seems like a personal website for a family. Next, I checked whois.com for information on who was behind it. Coincidentally, it's registered to someone named Dan. And after doing some further digging, I believe this to be the same Dan who was referenced on the website. From what I found online, and this is where it gets interesting, Dan is involved with the Church of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon Church. On a forum for their faith, Dan claimed that he inherited the lost 116 pages, the original manuscript pages of what Joseph Smith, the founder of the Latter-day Saints, said was the translation of the Book of Lehi. Furthermore, Dan allegedly had the attention of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, an American couple who led an offshoot Mormon group described by many as a doomsday cult. Back in 2019, they murdered 4 people, 3 of which were their own children. Before then, however, around the 2017 timeframe, if what I see is correct, they allegedly had an interest in Dan due to him supposedly having the lost 116 pages. The same source claims that they tried to steer its message toward their own agenda, and that led to Dan distancing himself from the couple. I couldn't find any primary sources supporting that Dan ever interacted with Vallow and Daybell, but I did find a few forum posts of him trying to prove his legitimacy. This briefly goes back to the point about ghost orbs in the folder name. Vallow and Daybell's murders cited spiritual possession as a motive. Establishing the belief of ghosts and demons taking over human bodies adds an interesting potential motive as to why someone would be monitoring for alleged paranormal activity. I am in no way saying that Dan is comparable to Vallow and Daybell, but they were in adjacent circles, so some beliefs may have been shared. It's also worth noting that Tammy was the name of one of Vallow and Daybell's victims, and was Daybell's first wife. I looked, but I couldn't find any connection between Tammy Daybell and Dan's wife Tammy. Finally, and this is a super interesting coincidence, Dan has the exact same first and last name as the Dean of Religious Education at Brigham Young University from 2019 to 2021. So, could this be the same person? I really don't think so. The problem is, no other details about their lives match up. The dean at BYU is rather well known, enough that he has his own Wikipedia page, so it was easy to find information on him, and his wife is not named Tammy. He also has 4 kids instead of 2, unlike the Dan from Horselaugh.com. And on the other hand, you can't give a fake name when you're registering a website. So, the Dan from Horselaugh.com is probably not using an alias. As far as I know, you can pay to have it hidden, but you can't give out just a random name that isn't yours. Feel free to leave a comment if I'm wrong. All in all, this is a very, very strange internet mystery. I don't think there's anything malicious about the site, but there are a lot of weird coincidences and a few things that don't add up. If I had to take a guess, Horselaugh.com is run by someone who believes in the paranormal and was at the time monitoring their daughter's bedroom out of concern that she may be possessed, and she might be autistic too. That's not a label I want to throw around too loosely, but the mention of it on the site is why I think so. This is also a very new internet mystery, as of the making of this video. So there might be developments in the future, and I will keep my eyes open. As usual, I discourage anyone from contacting or harassing the people mentioned in this video. I just archive interesting phenomena on the internet. And arguably, one of the most interesting anomalies on the internet are extremely niche counterculture websites. One of these even claims to host a community of real-life vampires. Check out my deep dive into sanguinarius.org, the foremost vampire information and resource site on the internet.